The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Terence Crosbie, a firefighter from Dublin, came to Boston to be part of the St. Patrick's Day parade, but he now faces serious rape charges and is on trial on court TV. His accuser described a horrifying night in a hotel when she says she was attacked by a man after having consensual relations with another man who was sleeping in the bed next to her. The scientific evidence is not conclusive, and Crosbie says he didn't do it, and today he took the stand in his own defense, and we have all the big moments. But first, 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard has vanished under troubling circumstances. School officials flagged her absence last week after she failed to enroll in her independent study program and hadn't been seen in months. Deputies visited the Mars Avenue home and found only her mother, Ashlee Buzzard, who offered no explanation for Melodee's disappearance. Investigators say Melodee was with her mother as recently as October 7th and may have been transported hundreds of miles away in a rented white Chevrolet Malibu, possibly as far as Nebraska. The mother remains uncooperative, and missing child signs now line the neighborhood as family members demand answers. The FBI has joined the search, but the trail remains cold, and the question still looms. Where is Melodee Buzzard? I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And unfortunately, we have another missing child we're going to talk about tonight. And, you know, through the years, I've noticed a disturbing common theme among mothers of missing children. Let me explain what I mean. Let's start with Lori Vallow Daybell. This is someone who was confronted about her children, and she lied about JJ and Tylee. Just didn't tell the truth about where they were. Made up stories, like literally out of thin air, involving her friends, and we get it. We get it. She lied because they were dead, murdered, and buried in her fifth husband's backyard. I get it why she lied. Then there's that woman from Central Florida, you know who I'm talking about, with the initials CA, had a daughter named Kaylee. Well, she lied all about Kaylee. Didn't tell the truth. Made up a story about Zanny the nanny. Confronted by her own parents, Kaylee's grandparents, and makes up a story, like invents a person who was watching Kaylee for 31 days. Complete lie. And she lied about other things too, but lied about where her missing child was. Leilani Simon, you may or may not remember her, from Georgia, South Georgia, lied about her son Quentin, who's like the cutest kid you've ever seen. Made up this story. In the end, it turns out she murdered him, threw him in the garbage, and they had to recover his remains from a landfill. Now, 2 out of those 3 paid for their lies. 1 did not pay for her lies. But that's the way our system works. You've got to prove the case beyond any and all reasonable doubt and convince all 12 jurors. And sometimes prosecutors can't do it. Let's talk now about little Melodee and her mom, Ashlee. Little different here. I'm not getting a sense that she is lying about everything. I'm getting a sense that she's just not saying anything and she's not cooperating, which is an interesting tact when you have a missing child that you are solely responsible for. The child's nowhere to be found and you're not saying anything. Well, let's dive into this story. Here's what we have from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. Through their investigation, detectives have gathered evidence indicating that Melodee was with her mother, Ashlee, as recently as October 7th of this year. Detectives have also determined that Ashlee may have driven with Melodee in a white Chevy Malibu. This is important, okay, for folks who may be able to help in this case. License plate number 9MNG101. To locations out of their home county of Santa Barbara County in California, to include as far as the state of Nebraska. So if you live anywhere between Nebraska and Santa Barbara County, you need to pay attention. You might be able to help this at this point. At this point in the investigation, Ashlee Buzzard remains uncooperative and has not provided detectives with any information about Melodee's current location or condition. The primary goal of this investigation is to verify the location and welfare of Melodee Buzzard and to ensure that she is safe. But Mom is saying nothing, which is absolutely bizarre. Well, let's get some more details and some more information. And joining us tonight in Santa Barbara County from our Scripps News Group, reporter Crystal Bermudez, who has been covering this story more in depth than anyone else. So, Crystal, I'm so glad that you're able to join us tonight. We appreciate your time. Let's start here because this is the first time we're doing the story for folks. How about some background about Melodee, her mom, Ashlee, their living arrangements, and any information about Melodee's dad?
Yeah, Vinny. Well, just to start us off, I've been in contact with spokesperson Raquel Zick with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department. She did confirm with me that when they looked into the home, that home is under Ashlee Buzzard and Melodee Buzzard. So they do live together. There's no indication of anyone else living there. However, the more I am piecing more information, I'm seeing that neighbors are noticing a common theme here, right? That the little girl was often seen home and sheltered and didn't really get the opportunity to play with other kids on the block. I'm not that far away right now. I'm about 5 minutes away from the Vandenberg Village home. But from what I'm hearing from spokesperson Raquel Zick, who has been, again, communicating with me about the whereabouts of Melodee, it seems like at this point, we were able to get confirmation because of that prolonged absence that the school district had brought attention to, right? That they hadn't seen Melodee for quite some time. So originally during this investigation, it had been a year long that we didn't know in that timeline of where Melodee's whereabouts were. Then that narrowed down to August of 2025. And now with our recent update, the one that you just read there, Vinny, they're now narrowing this down between October 7th through October 14th, which investigators tell me this is really helpful in, again, locating Melodee Buzzard and pleading the public to use the information that they're sharing. Have you seen this woman with a child in that white Chevy Malibu? Any time between that time frame of October 7th through October 14th. And again, when you think about how far Nebraska is from Vandenberg Village here in Santa Barbara County, that's about a 20-hour drive. So if anyone has information, spread those photos around to see if anyone has had the opportunity or chance to locate Melodee in that pathway between here and Nebraska. I'm actually parked right now outside of a gas station, and while I was driving around, there's photos everywhere, flyers that says, "Can you help locate Melodee Buzzard?" So the community here is really coming together and trying to spread that word around to help locate her.
And how about Melodee's dad? What's the story there with Dad and with Dad's family?
Yeah, Vinny. Well, when I first started looking into family members related to Melodee, I was first contacted with Elizabeth Meza. She's her aunt from her dad's side. She's married to her father's brother, who also passed away. But from what I'm being told, her father passed away when she was 6 months old in a motorcycle crash. So he wasn't really there to see seeing her grow up through most of her life, unfortunately, through that tragedy of a motorcycle accident.
And so October 7th is an important date that we believe she was seen. Do we know the circumstances surrounding that? Like who saw her, where they saw her, and what the context was? Have we gotten any more of those details?
Yeah, that's a great question. That was the first thought that came to mind for me as well, Vinny, is who saw her? Where was she seen on October 7th? From what I'm being told from Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department spokesperson Raquel Zick, she tells me that is information that they're not sharing right away. It is part of their investigation, but right now, that's all they were able to confirm with me was that she was last seen October 7th with her mother, Ashlee Buzzard.
And do we know what law enforcement is doing to try to find her, and what the process and the procedure, and how much manpower they're putting behind this?
Yeah, well, speaking of manpower, when I was here on Sunday, if you were able to check out one of those reports that I did, community members, neighbors all came out here demanding and pushing for answers from Ashlee outside of her house. And neighbors were telling me they wanted to organize. They created a Facebook group called In Search of Melodee. You can see that those neighbors right there on your screen right now that gathered. They were pushing for answers. They put up 4 signs that all said on both sides, "Where is Melodee?" Other signs said, "We're not going to stop until you tell us," things like that. And they wanted to organize. They organized through a Facebook group, like I mentioned, called In Search of Melodee. And they were talking about possibly starting a search party. When I talked to spokesperson Raquel Zick, she had told me, I wanted to know more about what goes into a search party. Is that something they want the public to do? Raquel had informed me that at this time, a search party isn't that beneficial if we don't know an exact location of where Melodee was last seen. So she could be anywhere between here and Nebraska. So starting a search party, she told me, could intervene and impede in their investigation. So they were really urging the public to maybe at this time not try to gather and start a search party, because that could impede in investigators and their current ongoing investigation. But Vinnie, I do want to tell you one thing. When I was here earlier last week, I had noticed investigators going around the neighborhood and collecting surveillance footage, gathering from neighbor to neighbor, seeing how much home surveillance video could piece together a timeline. So I'm expecting and maybe hoping an update soon to see if those surveillance footage videos could expand more on where Melodee was last seen and at what time, and any other videos that we could see where she is leaving or entering the home, at least between October 7th and October 14th.
Absolutely, be extremely revealing. Let's take a listen, though. You mentioned the public that had shown up. Let's show the folks at home some of what you gathered there and speaking with them.
We're all looking for answers, but, we're showing up today so that way, she knows we care. We're here for Melodee, and hopefully she will come out and tell us where she's at.
Besides the garage being open almost 48 hours now, which we don't know if she knows or not, she was burning something in the fireplace last night, but paper was coming out.
Organization is going to be key in this. If they're not going to press her until she cracks, I'm sorry, it's time.
Yeah, you can see the investment from the public there. Now, I know you also spoke with Melodee's grandma. I want to take a look at a part of that interview and then get some more details from you.
He said, "Did you know that your granddaughter was missing?" And I said, "Missing?" He goes, "When's the last time you talked to your daughter?" I said, "I don't know, 2 years, a year and a half ago." The psychologist that I was seeing said, I said, "Should I be keeping these things? I keep buying them for her for Christmas and her birthday." She said, "If you keep them for her, she'll know that when she was gone, you were thinking about her. So that's why I keep them." And sometimes I wonder, am I going nuts, right?
I want to take a look at another piece of the interview. This one is referencing a previous incident when Melodee was just a few months old.
About 15 minutes later, a sheriff calls me. He says, "I'm at your daughter's house in Orchid, and I was just getting ready to take your granddaughter Melodee with me to CPS because we're getting ready to take your daughter to the hospital." The house was in disarray. There were raw eggs in pans. There was rotten food in the fridge that I think she was trying to give my granddaughter.
So, Crystal, what is the status of Grandma's relationship with her granddaughter and with Ashlee, Melodee's mom? And is she doing anything to try to track down where Melodee is?
Yeah, well, when I met with Lori Miranda, who you saw on screen there, and who I had the opportunity to sit down and speak with, Lori told me she hadn't spoken to her daughter, at least within a 1.5 to 2 year timeline. She did tell me, and you could see in one of those clips where she has a telescope that's in a box. She unwrapped it for me on camera, and she told me she was planning to give that to Melodee on her 9th birthday that just passed on February 10th of this year. She unwrapped it, and she said that she wanted to stop by and give her this gift, but she's been taking some space from Ashlee. She described her mental health declining since roughly around 2016, a little after Melodee had been born. She told me that she suffered with BPD, bipolar disorder, was taking medication, has seen a psychiatrist to treat her mental illnesses, but I can't confirm that. This is just from what the mother had said to me. But again, she was just indicating to me that it's been some time. Her daughter is very erratic. Again, Ashlee Buzzard. And I do want to also share that Ashlee does have an older daughter. Her name is Destiny. And in that interview where she mentions that there was an incident in the past involving CPS, at the time, her oldest daughter, Destiny, was living with her, and 6-month-old Melodee Buzzard as well. She was explaining to me in detail this situation that happened in the past, again in 2016, where she received a call from law enforcement. She appeared shortly after that call and saw the status of Ashlee's home when she used to live in Orcutt, California at the time. And that's when she describes seeing raw eggs on the pan, rotten food in the fridge, and believed she was feeding that to her oldest granddaughter, Destiny.
Let me ask you about, I just want to clarify, when you were talking about suffering from mental illness, you were referencing Ashlee, right? Not grandma, but grandma talking about Ashlee?
That's correct. Grandma had confirmed with me, at least through our conversation, that her daughter does suffer from bipolar disorder, that she often creates scenarios in her head, and that's why she took some space from her. Really, the way she described it to me is that she did not understand her daughter. She didn't know how to communicate with her, and that's why she felt for her own safety, she needed to take a step away from her daughter, and felt a little bit of ease when she believed Melodee was going to school again, but then shortly after she put her into the homeschooling program.
Right. Now, there was another moment when you were outside of Ashlee's house, Ashlee and Melodee's house, when Melodee's sister or half-sister from her father's side confronts Ashlee. Let's take a look at that, because that's fascinating.
While we were talking, Ashlee Buzzard came out of the house.
Ashlee?
And Karina quickly approached her.
Ashlee, it's Karina. I just want to see if you're okay. If Melodee's okay, how you guys are doing. Do you have the time to speak with me?
Although she did not answer questions about Melodee, Ashlee stated she was feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and told Karina she did not appreciate her being parked outside when she did not want to communicate with her.
Wait, this is my number right here. If you ever want to talk to me, I want a relationship with Melodee, please. Please, Ashlee. Is she okay? Are you okay?
Did she mention anything about Melodee?
No, she didn't. I did ask her if Melodee is okay, as well if she's okay, but she did not answer.
Wow. So before we run out of time here, Crystal, did you learn anything else from Karina, who is, again, Melodee's sister, older sister, half-sister, but did you learn anything else from her about the family dynamics?
Yeah, that was Karina Meza. She's Melodee's half-sister from her father's side. Karina was really in distress as well. She just wanted to get in contact with Ashlee. She told me she had been out there for some time, wanting to reassure to Ashlee that if she needed anything, if Melodee was okay. And in that quick snippet there, you see this very quick interaction between the two, Karina and Ashlee. Karina told me that Ashlee did cut off the family, as well as Melodee's aunt, Elizabeth Meza. She cut off the father's side of the family about 4 years ago, I want to say. So there's been very little contact, or to any contact at all with Melodee. So she told me that she had a great experience when Melodee was around one time, and she had her kids there as well, and the kids were all playing, and she described Melodee just being so happy, wanting to be around family, having a big smile all the time. It was very goofy. She's very animated in the videos that I've seen of her. And so when Karina was trying to get a hold of her during that time, it was very short, very quick. And as you have mentioned, Vinnie, Ashlee has been uncooperative. This is what police have been telling me, is that they're not getting much out of Ashlee when it involves where's Melodee's wherabouts in this situation.
She's not telling anyone.
Again,
She's not telling
Karina
police. She's not telling family. This is so frustrating. Crystal, we're out of time for now.
Yeah.
Great reporting, amazing.
All
I
right.
hope you'll come back as we continue to cover this story, and we appreciate you sharing all this information. Thank you so much, Crystal Bermudez, Scripps News Group. When we come back, we're going to bring in our think tank and try to get to the bottom of how investigators, prosecutors, or maybe a therapist can get the information that is needed. And the information is pretty simple. Where is Melodee tonight? Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates a Hawaiian paradise turned into a nightmare. A doctor accused of trying to kill his own wife on a cliffside birthday hike. Prosecutors say what started as a photo op ended in blood and betrayal. What really happened on that mountain ledge?
The Court TV podcast will return.
Investigators believe Ashlee drove her daughter to Nebraska in a white Chevy Malibu earlier this month, more than 1,070 miles from her current Vandenberg Village home, before returning to California.
We want the public to think back to the 7th to the 14th. Did you see a mom and a daughter in this vehicle?
Ashlee knows, but Ashlee is saying nothing about her daughter, Melodee. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former head New Jersey County prosecutor Bob Bianchi, and national parenting and family relationship expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Great to have you both here. We're trying to get Rick King in the mix here. Let me ask you, Bob, legally, is there any way to compel this woman to tell the world where her daughter is?
As a prosecutor who's handled cases like this, Vinnie, at certain points in times, you got to brute force your way into a situation. You cannot let a child who no one knows where they are, has been traveling over a significant place and period of time, whose parent is mentally ill, a single parent, no one there to care for the kid, the school's concerned, the community's concerned, the sheriff's concerned. As a prosecutor, I would start using brute force. You need to bring her in. You need to detain her. You may need to get a mental health situation going on there as to whether or not there's some sort of involuntary commitment. I know that's going to get some very upset, but the bottom line here is I'm concerned about a child and a child's well-being. And if I have to file charges for endangering the welfare of a child, which doesn't require that I show actual harm in the state of California, that's what I'm going to do. Bottom line is I need some top skilled level police officers and detectives and some mental health professionals that are going to approach her and bring her in, and let's start getting some answers. This is not a time to play games. The clock is ticking.
Dr. Sue Kornbluth, is there a way to get through to this mother and have her voluntarily just provide the information? I believe this child very well could be alive tonight.
Well, Vinnie, if somebody is going to go in there and intervene and try to get her to open up, they have to approach her in a very caring, kind, compassionate, and empathetic way. If they go in there and they are accusatory of this mother, she is not going to open up at all. So the way to approach her would be with compassion, concern, care, to get her on board to start cooperating, to open up as to where her daughter is. That would be the approach that a psychological professional would need to take here.
Also joining us, we've got him.
Problem with that, though, Vinnie.
One second, Bob. I just got to bring Rick into the mix. We've connected. Joining us, former police lieutenant, trial attorney Rick King. All right, Rick, let's get your take, and then we're going to go at it here. Bob's going one way. Dr. Sue seems to be going a different way. Former police lieutenant, also criminal defense attorney at this point. But, Rick, what are your thoughts about how you get this mother to provide the most important information, the only thing we care about, which is where Melodee is?
I mean, I think I agree with Bob in the sense that you got to start being aggressive with her. You got to bring her in. Clearly, you have some sort of criminal charges because you wrote a search warrant. So if you have a search warrant, there's probable cause for some crime you're saying happened. If you have probable cause for a crime, then you should make an arrest. Something. You need something to bring her in, to put the pressure on her to start finding out where the baby is, because that's what we care about right now.
Go ahead, Bob. I knew you wanted to jump in there before. Let it fly.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we get to a point where we all want to throw up a peace sign and be kumbaya. That has not worked here. You cannot continue to wait while this child may be in jeopardy and you have a recalcitrant, reluctant, and unwilling participant in helping us identify where her child is. At a certain point in time, you got to pull the Band-Aid off, and the nice game has to end and the hard game has to begin. It's already past due, if you ask me, Vinny.
This is not about pulling off a Band-Aid, though, Bob. This is about dealing with somebody that has mental health issues. That's what it appears to be. And when you're dealing with somebody that has mental health issues, you have to be very caring towards them in order to get them to open up with information. I'm not saying that you don't haul her in. I agree with that. But once she's there, you're not going to probably get a confession out of her if you treat her as though she's guilty already.
To Dr. Seuss'
You're
point,
talking
Bob,
about the approach once you get her.
To Dr. Seuss' point, Bob, I think what she's saying.
You're talking about the approach.
Go ahead, Rick.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think what she's saying is we're talking tactics once we get her in. I think that the idea is to get her in, and then once she's in, then there's tactics. There's a way you talk to someone with mental health problems. You don't come and you don't beat them over the head with a hammer. You try to talk to them and you appeal to whatever it is you think that they're going to respond to. It's not going to be a situation where it's bad guy. Maybe it's good guy, bad guy. Maybe it's something.
Let me ask you this, guys. Let me ask you this. Is there a problem, though, if you haul her in, the lawyer's going to jump in, is going to shut her down? Is that a potential problem? Is there any way around that? If you arrest her, charge her, she gets the public defender shuts it down. What do you do, Bob?
Yeah, Vinny, listen, I mean, first of all, I'm not talking about taking her in and hitting her over the head with a rubber hose. Of course, you try to go in there with the right approach and the best people, and there are certain people that are better at it than others, and even have mental health providers there. What I'm talking about is you need to bring her in, and the bottom line here is if someone's constitutional, I know I'm going to say something very controversial here, okay, but it's a reality. If somebody's constitutional rights get a little fuzzy in terms of them trying to seek information and maybe it violates Miranda, well, that means the statement gets suppressed. The bottom line here is the health and safety and welfare of the child. So if I were the prosecutor, I'd be so be it if we're on a line. That's what I'm most concerned about. The prosecution is secondary.
Yeah, don't worry about the charges and the prosecution. Worry about the child first, who could be in danger and might be able to be saved. All right, we're going to stay on this story. We'll talk more about it during the week. Right now, though, this man in the trial you're watching on Court TV, Terence Crosbie, accused of rape, takes the stand in his own defense. Wait till I show you what happened on cross-examination.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I woke up to somebody on top of me, inside of me, in his penis in my vagina, on top of me, telling me, you like this, he couldn't give this to you, I'll give it to you, he's a loser. I was focusing on getting out. I was focusing on getting to safety.
That's the accuser in the rape trial we're covering here on Court TV, talking about the defendant. The defendant. Now, quickly, the backstory is here, she met the defendant's hotel roommate. They were here from Ireland for the St. Paddy's Day parade. She meets the roommate. Together, they have consensual sex. Then they fall asleep in the room. He falls asleep on one bed, she's asleep in another bed. Then the roommate comes back into the room and she alleges that's what happens. The DNA evidence in the case is not conclusive. there are samples from 2 male donors that are found in her private area, but they cannot tie it to anyone because there's not enough of the sample to do so. But they have been able to say 2 different male donors. So here now is the testimony of the accused. He takes the stand in his own defense, talking about, well, I'll just let the cross-examination speak for itself.
You claim that there was no one in your bed when you got in, and you just faced the wall, right?
There was nobody in my bed.
And you just faced the wall, right?
Just got into bed and faced the wall, yes.
You could hear Liam O'Brien snoring, right?
Correct.
And then you say you just all of a sudden noticed that that a woman got up.
I didn't notice. I heard somebody get up.
You didn't look at her?
I didn't try, but I couldn't. It was too dark.
You didn't say anything to the police on March 15th of 16th, 2024, about the woman using the bathroom before she left, right?
They had never asked that question.
Well, you were talking with them about what you heard, right?
What I heard?
You said that a minute and a half after you got into bed, you heard the woman get up and start rummaging around the room, correct?
Yes.
And you never said anything at all about hearing her go into the bathroom and spend any time in there before she left, did you?
That's true. They never asked.
During that interview with them, you tried to get information about what Ms. was saying to the police, right? About what she had disclosed.
He told me there was an allegation made.
And you were trying to get details about what she had disclosed, right?
I was asked what type of allegation was being made.
So, Mr. Crosbie, you were trying to get information from the detectives about what had disclosed about the reported sexual assault, right?
They told me there was an allegation made. I asked what it was about.
And you specifically asked them, can you specify what that means exactly in the legal terms of rape? Is she saying someone pinned her down on the bed and had sex with her?
He told me that somebody had non-consensual sex with her.
They hadn't given you any information beyond the fact that there was a sexual assault alleged, right?
Yes.
And so it was your words, your specific words, asking if she was saying that someone pinned her down on the bed and had sex with her,
yes,
right?
I asked them.
They hadn't told you anything prior to that about what exactly had disclosed.
No, he told me later.
When you went through kind of a description of what you did after you landed at Logan and went to the hotel here today, you didn't say anything about having masturbated on your bed before going out for the night, right?
True.
But when you talked to the police back on March 16th, you told them that in the morning, when Liam O'Brien went down for breakfast, that you had masturbated on the bed?
I think I asked a hypothetical question.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your response.
I asked them a hypothetical question. What if?
You said, I'm going to say in a very simple way for you to understand. We're 2 lads on the holiday. I'm in my bed on my own in the morning. He's gone off for breakfast. And I have to masturbate or whatever. We go out to have a good night. We come back, and him and her in the room, and she's on my bed with him having sex. If they are, I don't know if they are. That's what you said to the police at the Omni Parker house on March 15th, right?
Yes.
Excuse me, I keep saying that, March 16th, 2024. But you hadn't been at the hotel in the morning, right?
We only got there late afternoon.
So you didn't have really time separate from Mr. O'Brien in the hotel room, right? He was in the hotel room the whole time that you were there before you went to the bar?
True.
And so you didn't, so there was no breakfast for Liam that morning in Boston, right?
No.
And you didn't have time that morning because you weren't in Boston, right?
We only got there in the afternoon.
And so you were telling the police that story to try to anticipate why your DNA might be found on Mr. body, right?
No, that's not true.
Think Tank back with us. Bob Bianchi, Rick King, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Rick, it seems like the prosecutor had an idea. I don't know how well it was pulled off, but basically she is alleging that this defendant had a preemptive story as to how his DNA could have ended up on the accuser in this case. And she's trying to say, listen, there's no way that you pleasured yourself when he went down to breakfast because you didn't even check in until the afternoon. Is this the end of it for this defendant?
No, I don't think it hit the way that it could have hit. I think that she really had a strong chapter of cross-examination to go into, but I think the setup kind of failed her. I appreciate what she was trying to get out of it, but I'm not sure it hit the way because of the setup.
Is there any way, Dr. Sue Kornbluth, that he actually did that? Like to me, it seems ridiculous.
If he wasn't there at the time, he couldn't have done it. Is it possible? Sure, but he wasn't there, so I don't know how that could have taken place at that time. Yeah. I don't know. There's too many missing pieces here, Vinny, to put this all together and to try to really figure out what happened here. I think only the people in that room know what happened.
And that's there was a mistrial on this case. You know, the DNA question is interesting to me because my experience informs me that if somebody had done something like that, they would have just said, yeah, I had relations with her. What do you mean? She's saying, oh, no, she consented. But he never said that. So there's this weird aspect about the DNA.
Bob, he's married. He's married, Bob. He's not going to admit to consensual sex while he's in America. He's got to go back to his wife in Ireland.
Well,
He admitted
he's
to kissing
admitting
the girl.
to the fact that he kissed a girl in the bar.
Yeah, because it was on video.
You know, he's trying to save his... Look, I don't disagree with you, Vinny. That could be a piece to it. But the thing to me that's really compelling here is that she texted her friend right after this happened. And I think that that's a very compelling, contemporaneous text that's going to be... If it doesn't wow them on his testimony and little things that she did on cross here, the prosecutor, affect him, you may get a different result than you did the first time.
Yeah, and I think the point we're making is the get-out-of-jail-free card for reasonable doubt would have been ending his marriage, right? By saying, oh, yeah, of course I hooked up with her. But he didn't do that, Rick. He didn't do that. He did not say. This case is not about consensual versus non-consensual. You know, they're all drinking St. Patty's Day. They go back to the hotel. That's not the story. The story is I didn't do anything, but maybe I pleasured myself in the bed and they rolled into it or something. Oh, God.
Oh, come on.
That's the story.
Come on.
That's his story.
I know it's the story,
it's
but
ridiculous.
that doesn't sound right to me, Vinny. That sounds ridiculous to me. And you know what? He probably didn't want to go home and confess to his wife about what he was doing there over the weekend in that hotel or anything like that.
Here's what I want to know. Let's talk about the truth, like what actually happened, not what can be proven, whatever. Dr. Sue, are you saying you believe the truth very well could be that it was this consensual thing amongst everyone, but because he's married, he did not want to admit it, and he framed himself for rape?
No, but what I'm saying is that whatever happened in that room, he is not coming forward with it because if he did, his wife would leave him probably and divorce him. So perhaps he's covering up what happened. He got into that bed. She was in the bed. I don't know what happened after that.
I have been doing this show so long that I just got to say this. I've listened to every permutation of a sexual assault case that you could think of, some very similar to the facts of this one. And you know what? You could be shocked and surprised. You say, why would somebody lie about being raped? Well, sometimes they do. I'm sorry. That is a fact. That happens. And then sometimes they don't. So he could be lying. Maybe he is, maybe because of his wife, maybe he's not. Who knows? But in the end, the prosecution's the one that's got to prove this case to 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. And is that happening? It didn't happen the first time.
All right, we're out of time, unfortunately. And unfortunately for this jury, they didn't get to hear from Liam O'Brien, the other man who's in the room when the rape is allegedly taking place. I guess they couldn't subpoena him in Ireland. I don't know. Okay, great job, folks. Bob Bianchi, Rick King, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Appreciate it. When we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, he was a respected anesthesiologist, she a devoted wife, but police say beneath the surface their marriage was anything but perfect. A brutal attack, a desperate struggle, and a story that's shaken an island community. Did the doctor try to push his wife off of a Hawaiian cliff?
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. What do we have? Caught on camera. What's going on? We've got this surveillance video from a Ring doorbell cam out of Alexandria, Virginia. The question is this a crime taking place or a Halloween hoax? These people have not been identified but are wanted for attempted burglary. Let's take a look at the video.
Your worst nightmare. They've been banging and shit. Open up the door! If this door doesn't open, we're gonna come in.
The three suspects are wanted for attempted burglary. Investigators say they entered the fenced backyard, causing damage to the fence and an outdoor storage unit. It's that time of year. Bottom line is you can't vandalize things and you can't enter places you're not supposed to. So we'll see if they're ever able to identify the three suspects. Now we need your help. Please take a look at the screen. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Breland Gillespie. Breland, just 16 years old, missing out of Houston, Texas since October 18th. If you see Breland, please pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Houston Police Department in Texas. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Breland to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids. There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.